Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. Today I wanted to talk about swearing for a little bit. Particularly, why is swearing such a thing that is such a social faux pas? Particularly, you know, in the olden days it would be like, if you said a swear word, everyone would just kind of look at you. I remember when I was about 5, I was in Sainsbury's with my mum. And there was this woman on the phone. She was effing and jeffing all over the place. And my mum said to me, "Now, you don't want to turn out like her." And at the time I thought, like, I treated it almost like swearing was like taking crack or something like that. And I saw this woman like a crack addict sort of thing, where it was, you know, this sort of idea that if you swear, you are a bad person because of that. And I suppose it's the fact that you don't have the filter present to filter out these bad words and instead replace them with quote good words. So for the conflict for this video is not me trying to climb this hill, it's me trying to not swear. So with all the little slips and stuff, I'm sure I'm bound to let out a little F word or a little S word somewhere along the lines. But yeah, as you grow into a teenager and as life sort of continues on, you start to become someone who does swear more. When I turned 10, 11, 12, you start getting on the Call of Duty lobbies and stuff like that. You start hearing all sorts of horrible words. F word, S word, B word, both B words, that word, all kinds of horrible words, right? And some words are rooted in some kind of history of violence or history of oppression or some history of, you know, just being foul to our fellow man. The word zipperhead is a word that I've always wondered why it's not more offensive than it perhaps should be. So in the Korean War, what they used to do is they would line up loads of little Korean lads head to head all in a row, and then they would get a jeep and they would run all their heads over with the jeep, and they were called zipper heads because the tyre would leave this kind of zipper-like pattern from the tyre that would be left in their flattened skulls. So that is a pretty horrible history for a word to have, and that word has kind of fallen out of the general lexicon overall, I think for the best. And as time goes on, general swearing like your F word and your S word, these are words that don't really have a history of being used against a particular type of person or against a particular group or anything like that. They're just general words that mean, let's say, slightly taboo things like sex. You know, the F word means, you know, tooth, right? And the S word is about, you know, fecal matter, which is a fairly taboo thing because it's not like we go up to someone and say, "Oh, hello, I had a really great poo just before I came and saw you. Yeah, it was really nice. It was, you know, one of those big ones where, you know, you feel the slight satisfaction after it comes out. Yeah, not like them horrible little ones where it plops and it splashes back and it hits you, right? So you got these words that mean taboo things, and as we as a society have become more accepting of social taboos regarding sex and so on, as the liberation of sex has become very widespread in the past 50, 60, 70 years, these words themselves have also become more normalized in our society. And I don't think there's really a problem with people effing and jeffing all over the place. I eff and jeff all over the shop, you know, but I think it's also good to like, I've got a mate, right, who I spoke to him a few months ago, and he was saying that he was trying to quit swearing. And I sort of thought, oh yeah, I have tried that before. I've set myself like a challenge where I'll try and go a week without swearing. And the reason I did that wasn't because I found the words particularly offensive, it was because I thought when I get to finally use that word, people will turn around and think, oh, he's serious, you know? If you take someone that never swears and then they say a swear, you notice, compared to someone's effing and jeffing, now they don't have anything to resort to emphasize. This person who doesn't swear has this tool that they have saved in case of emergency, right? So I think it's good to not swear for that pure practical reason. However, I don't really see the problem with swearing as an idea, as a thing, and perhaps the fact that you can swear for emphasis is reliant on the fact that a swear is a taboo thing. But perhaps at the same time, it's also that we've got this ability to communicate with so many beautiful words, and the idea that someone is resorting to the same words again and again is a lack of creativity and a lack of interest in the English language, and you know, articulating their point with any real artistic merit. Instead of saying, "Oh, that was benign," they'll just say, "Oh yeah, that was awful." Again, try not to swear for this video, right? So yeah, you've got all these different words, and as time has gone on, particularly in the 80s, comedy was able to start using swearing a lot, and they used it to, great effect, I suppose, because it became more normalized around that point. You were able to swear on the telly, and then as time went on, swearing kind of became ingrained within comedy, and comedy as a result became more of an adult-oriented sort of thing. I think everyone would sort of agree that, say, South Park is more, quote, mature than The Simpsons, in the context of you wouldn't want your kid to see South Park, but you probably wouldn't mind your kid watching an episode of The Simpsons, right? But I don't think anyone would necessarily say that South Park as a whole is a more mature show. I mean, it's completely scatological and very overt with its messaging, whereas The Simpsons is a bit more, takes time to figure out what it wants to say, and it says it with some degree of tact. So you got the idea of what mature is from an age rating point of view, from a appropriate for kids kind of view, and then you've got the idea of maturity from a holistic overall worldview point of view, and those are two completely different things. And we kind of need a bit of both, because we need age ratings. You don't want to turn on a film and watch it with your kids and it turns out there's a sex scene in it. You don't want to buy your kid a video game where he can go around and be a terrorist, like Modern Warfare 2 or GTA or whatever. Right? You might not want them to be exposed to that kind of thing, even if you don't believe that, like the logical thing to do, which is to not believe that kids will see what happens in video games and then actually act out in real life, because obviously they don't. But you might not want them to be exposed to that kind of thing anyway, which, depending on your form of parenting, is completely fair enough. And yeah, you've got these words, and I think as time has gone on and they've become more ubiquitous and they've been used more and more and more, and they're more openly used, and that kind of thing, they kind of lose their impact. So if you watch a comedy special now, people tend to be effing and jeffing all over the place. But if you watch a comedy special from the 70s, people aren't really swearing. But if they do swear, it's for a reason. It's part of the joke. It's part of the punchline. And the fact that they swore was really kind of a wow moment, right? Now, comedy, I think, has gone in this direction where it's become too... it's awkward to say this. I think comedy has become too offensive, but not in the sense like, oh, I'm so offended by it. I mean more in the sense that now comedy needs to have all the swearing in it. It needs to have all the F and jeffing, and it needs to have this like current political kind of take on the world. When I feel like a lot of the true beauty of comedy is from the universality of it. Like take something like Mr. Bean, for instance. That's something that anyone from across the world, no matter what the culture, no matter what the backstory, no matter what the person, whether they speak English or not, right, they can enjoy that show. And then you can go a bit further, you can take something like Fawlty Towers, which has very little swearing, very little of actual anything to offend, right? Because it's a slapstick, farcical kind of show. And I feel like we've lost a lot of that because we're trying to just be as edgy and offensive as possible. And I'm not saying that from the point of view of someone who is offended by the Dave Chappelle special of the day that got cancelled by Netflix and all that bloody stuff. I'm talking more about comedy as a whole, and how its reliance on swearing has led to its degradation. And some of my favourite comedies have swearing in them, like Peep Show swears all the time, The Office swore, Alan Partridge swore sometimes. You got all these sort of things, but in Alan Partridge, I think, is a good example because he was a radio DJ. When he swore, part of the joke was that he swore because he's not a very good radio presenter, and it would tie into whatever he was talking about, and that meant that the swearing had a purpose rather than it just being used because that's what we do and we want to be seen as an adult show and not a show for little kiddies. So to get back to just the nature of swearing on its own and its development across the modern day, it has gone from this very taboo thing where if you swear, people will kind of turn around and look at you, to this thing where, you know, you can, like, I can swear in front of my mum. If my mum swore in front of her mum, she'd have got, like, she'd have been punished for that, you know? If her mum had swore at her mum, God knows what would have happened, you know? And I'm not sort of talking about from a slippery slope point of view. I just sort of feel like it would be good if we could have these emphasis words back again and take back the great variety of the English language and use it to its full effect rather than having to rely on swearing and rather than having to rely on cheap tricks to gain a reaction, because as time goes on, that doesn't get a reaction. You can't just pull an Eddie Murphy and just do a comedy special where you just F and Jeff and shit and this and fucking this, you know? You can't anymore. Because if you do that now, it's pastiche, it's boring, it's been done. It's old hat and it's quite quaint as a result, rather than it being the, you know, boundary pushing thing that you kind of want to actually do. Because what's the point if you're not trying to push at some kind of boundary? So yeah, I think that's going to be the overall message of the video, is that swearing is fine and I don't have a problem with swearing on a moral level. I feel like it would be good to have our impact words back because it's very useful to have them when you really want to swear. You noticed how I did swear at the end of the video. I failed what I said at the beginning. And when I swore, I think it had more of an impact than some of my videos where I've been a bit more fucking this and shitting this the entire way through. Because then it just becomes this white noise, this filler word, and you don't really want it to be that. You want it to be a word of emphasis, and you want to reduce filler words in general anyway, as you try and articulate what it is you're trying to say. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you have a great rest of the day. Go say fuck you to your parents and tell them I told you to do it. Yeah, that's a great way of ending the video, isn't it? Yep. Get a complaint from the little Jimmy. He's like, I followed your advice and then my parents have grounded me for 3 weeks. What am I going to do? Oh, well, you know, if that's the case, I've got many videos for you to watch in the back catalogue. You probably wouldn't want to watch me after that. You'd probably be annoyed at me. But then it was your own fault anyway. You should have had a bloody brain cell in your head. Anyway, take care, everybody. I am slowly going back down the hill. Right. Nah. Okay. Right. Hey everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, the director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I've come out to Albert Bridge. It's this really nice bridge here. It's all lit up, so I thought it would look kind of cool for the shot. I'm out actually meeting a few people for this film, and today I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about Central London versus West London, or like Zone 5, Zone 6 and that kind of thing, and to try and get at a couple of the differences, because they are very inherently different places. It almost feels like you're in a completely different place when realistically you're only about 7-8 miles away. So I think the first difference is in West London, I've done these sort of videos where I play this character who basically is kind of taking the mick out of, you know, the typical YouTube Shorts, TikTok thing of like going up to someone and asking them a question and then they give an answer and then you have a bit of a back and forth, or that kind of thing. So I've kind of gone up to people in various locations, and I do find that when I come to Central London, I do the videos in Central London, it's a lot easier to get talking to people because there's a lot of tourists, there's a lot of, you know, that kind of thing. And while people aren't as ready to just come up to you and start talking to you, when you do actually find somebody that is, you know, you can go up to them. And what I'm trying to get at is people are more, how do I put it, more approachable, more willing to stop for a chat compared to people in West London or East London or South London, where people are kind of just trying to get on with their day. When I was filming these videos, it was very much when we were filming them out in Harrow or in Ealing or wherever, it was quite hard to actually, we had to kind of go on a hunt for people that looked like they would be willing to stop and talk to us. So I think the first thing is, whilst people in central London, you know, are kind of going around, they're also kind of tourists. So you can go past, yeah. Just doing a video about central London, really. Ah, thank you. I know it's further than it looks. I'm actually, you know, a stuntman right now, because if I fell off this, I'd die. So anyway, that's kind of the first difference that I've noticed between central London and outer London. And that is something that I really do like about central London. I did do a video about why I dislike central London, and there are a few things that I dislike about it. But today I kind of want to do the opposite of that and just do, not just the opposite, kind of a comparison. Because West London as well, the shops in West London are quite different as well. If you're going to have a specialist shop, it's very niche, and it's the sort of thing that you would need a car to get to. For instance, there's a lot of drum shops, for instance, in you know, outer London, and they're usually kind of near like an A road or a motorway or something like that. So because a drum kit, you couldn't buy a drum kit and then take it on the bus. It would just be physically impossible, or you would have to be absolutely insane. So a lot of those kind of things don't tend to be in these sort of areas. Here you tend to get stuff like you know, Vogue clothes shops, and you get various restaurants and that kind of thing, because this is a place for people to come out and spend a fair bit of time. Whereas with West London, it's kind of the place where you return. And I'm using West London just because it's the one that I know the best. I'm West London born and bred, so I know West London. But I presume that these things also apply to East, South and North London. And from what I've seen going to those parts of London, it does seem like it's the case. I think the next thing that's the difference between outer London and central London is just how interconnected everything is in central London. When you're out in West London, for instance, you might be in Hounslow and you want to go to Brentford. It's not really walking distance. It's somewhere that you've got to get the bus there, or you've got to dedicate yourself to a 40-minute walk. Which, you know, I like walking, but if I need to get somewhere quickly, I will get the bus. But compared to here, I walked here from Tottenham Court Road, probably about a 40-minute walk, and it's a very different part of London from this part, which is just by the Thames. That's on the opposite side of this is the Thames. And every part of central London has this quite different feel to it, and they're also close together. Like Soho is right near Tottenham Court Road, which is then near Fitzrovia and Belgravia, and you know, so from there you've got two alternative sort of scenes, and then you've got two much more upper class, almost old money feeling kind of scenes. And then you know, another thing is the architecture. You've got an awful lot of very tall and quite stylized looking buildings. A lot of modernity is springing up around London, and I find that quite cool. I like a lot of the architecture in central London for the most part. There are some buildings that I'm not a huge fan of, but I do find that the architecture here is fairly more inspired, and that's obviously because they're trying to attract tourists, and they want people to sort of stand here and go, ooh, yeah, snap, snap. I'm gonna put that on my Instagram. And then it'll be like, oh, I've been to London, and you know, that's a great way of advertising London, which then helps the economy and so on. Because these sort of parts are tourist. I won't even say tourist traps, because that implies like kind of negativity. I feel like they're just tourist destinations, and they're fun, you know. And it's nice living in outer London and having these things nearby. Whilst also, what I like about outer London is that, because I'm more of a rural person at heart, I don't particularly like the hustle and the bustle of places like Westminster and you know, Soho. I'm really not a fan of Soho. I know it's not central London, but Camden as well. Very busy, packed places where it feels quite hard to breathe, and it feels like the buildings are all so big that, you know, you don't really see much of the sky. If you're walking down the road, you'll see this thin strip of sky, and it's all right for a bit, but it's something that you don't want all the time. And that's why it's nice to live in outer London, not just because you know, the rents and stuff are much cheaper. But I think the next thing that I'd like to talk about with regards to West London versus the rest of London, well, central London, is that you know, the transport connections obviously are a lot better in central London, but you don't particularly need them because everything is so quite easy to traverse. Even though London, it's not like, say, New York, where if you're on 2nd Street, I think it's like 2nd Avenue would go that way and 2nd Street would go that way. So streets go that way and avenues go that way, or it's the other way around, or something like that. But the point is, you don't really need Google Maps to get around a place like that. London doesn't have that because London was a city that was built very, very quickly. The total opposite. It was built very, very slowly over time, over hundreds and hundreds of years, whereas New York kind of sprung up over the course of, 60, 70 years. And so it was able to be more designed from a top-down perspective, whereas this is just, you know, the city has kind of gone with the flow of things, and it has led to a bit of an archaic design, look, and yeah, he just shouted out, hey, so check him out. If you pause the frame, you might be able to find out what he is if he had an advert on him or something like that. But yeah, London is very much an archaic city that is very easy to get lost in, particularly because there are so many side streets and so many things will look so completely different. If you go off at Liverpool Street, you see the business sort of areas with the big skyscrapers and the office blocks, and then you go further down, you see the pubs, the restaurants, blah, 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 and it starts to take you towards Shoreditch, which is a very hipstery kind of area. So, and it's a very kind of gradual progression as you go down that road. I can't remember what the name of the road is. But you see this big vivid change in the architecture. And it's so nice to have that variation. Because West London, North London, South London, they do have the odd thing that is quite cool. But a lot of the architecture is a lot more one note, maybe two note, because there are some neat things. But yeah, the architecture is something that is really amazing about out here. And I think finally, my last point would be around the people. Because if you live in outer London, you've probably been there for a bit more time. So I made a video about community within London. I was talking about how you should go out of your comfort zone and try and find community. And in central London, it's a fair bit easier to just get into a chat with someone because no one knows each other, everyone's a stranger, and so that leads to some fun conversations. Whereas in outer London, it's not quite like up north in like a little village where everyone knows each other or anything like that, but you are going to see the same people again and again if you live there. You're going to see like Dave, who lives at number 43, who's always like sat outside having a cigarette and on his phone. You're going to see Andrew, who lives at number 68, who you know, is constantly saying hi to everyone, and you'll see him at the kebab shop sometimes, and that kind of thing. And you know, you might have the odd conversation with him here and there. And you'll go to the pub and you'll see the same sort of few people every now and then. You don't have to duck if you don't want it. Because it's kind of, that's what I kind of like. I like the people going back and forth because it's the people of London, and that's what I wanted to get across, is that I like the variety that London does have to offer, because it's got areas that feel more countryside, like your Epping with Epping Forest, and like Bromley, which full on does not feel like the city at all. You've got the posh parts of Harrow, which honestly, if it weren't for the fact you can see Wembley Stadium in the distance, I would fully believe that is, you know, like Buckinghamshire or somewhere like that. So you've got so many places to kind of go around, and I kind of sound like the London Tourist Board at the moment. So I can't really think of anything else I want to add to this. London is a particularly important place to me, and it's somewhere that I've struggled with. We're like brothers in a way, you know, we don't like each other, but we love each other, sort of thing. And I'm going to live here as long as I can, as long as it's affordable, and as long as there is still that community feeling. And if that ever sort of goes, then I'll go along with it. You don't have to duck, by the way. Nah, just some more people that are going back and forth. I feel like I've covered more or less everything. Put down in the comments some differences that you think I have probably left out, because I kind of did this video quite off the cusp, as you can probably tell, because I'm kind of mincing my words and kind of going around various points. Tell me in the comments, you know, what you see as being the difference between, you know, outer London and inner London, and which do you prefer? Do you like inner London? Do you like outer London? You know, some people prefer one, some people prefer the other. I prefer outer London personally, but that's kind of because I've lived there all my life. If I grew up in, you know, these kind of areas, well, first off, I'd be a different person, but second off, I would like this sort of area more because it would feel more like home. And to me, this doesn't feel exactly like home, but it feels near home, which is kind of cool. It's kind of fun. And yeah, I'd just like to kind of talk about it a little bit and try and get my my approach to what London is and has to offer out there for people to kind of get to understand. And if you are recently moving to London, if you're an immigrant that's you know, is trying to settle down in London, and you feel like you're lost in this very big city, please put your story down in the comments, and you know, we can try and we're trying to build a community with this YouTube channel, and very importantly, I want to try and get across the idea that you can find community in this place, because people here are much more loving and open than some would like to have you believe. People are so welcoming and nice, and they're not nearly as rude as or violent as the stereotype tries to make out. You know, negativity can be overblown. But yeah, I think that's going to be it. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Check out Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. I'm really proud of this. It's going to be so much fun, and I cannot wait for you to see it. So I'm going to leave you with this shot, Chelsea Bridge, because it's a really cool shot, and I will catch you around. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit more about community, because when you go around London and you just allow yourself to open up and be one with the rest of the city, you can end up finding yourself in all sorts of fun situations, all sorts of fun people. Just today I went to meet the costume designer Eva, who was in another video, and she has been really working on these. Look at that. Look at how cool that design is. She did all that with like acrylic paint. So she's done all of this side down here, and she's left this side kind of empty, and these little flowers here, which I think looks so beautiful. I think this looks so cool. It's so the character. It's so interesting. And she also took those sort of turquoisey jeans and she turned them into this. Look at that, she made them into bell bottoms, and they've got like these yellow sort of highlights on them, and this sort of blue with a bit more highlight here, and there's this kind of psychedelic-y kind of color. It's so perfect, it's such the character, and it's so much fun. I met her at Starbucks about 20 minutes ago. I just went there to have a coffee, and I sat down with the laptop, and I was gonna do some script work, and there was a guy that worked at the Starbucks. He came over and he said, you do camera stuff. I'm like, yeah. So like, and he was sort of asking about the camera, this camera this has been filmed on. It's a Canon C100 Mark I with a 28mm lens on it at the moment, and he was sort of interested in all that kind of stuff. So I sort of told him that, you know, if you go on eBay, you can kind of get this stuff on the bids. You can bid for it, and because it's quite old, no one actually wants it because it's not old enough to actually be retro yet. So, you know, if you bid for it, you'll be the only bidder on it most likely, so you don't have to compete with other people. I managed to get this, 600 quid. This camera really should have cost somewhere in the realm of about 2,000, 3,000. In fact, when it came out, it was about 10,000, 12,000 pounds or something like that. Came out in 2011, 2012, something like that. And it's got super 35mm in it. It's a cine camera. I love it. It doesn't shoot in 4:3. I just like making these videos in 4:3. Yeah, so I was sat there with the laptop, and he came over and we had a bit of a conversation. It can't last that long because he's on the job, and he's got to give out coffees to people and all that kind of stuff. So he said goodbye, and the woman that was next to me, who is potentially going to be playing a role in this film now, because we got talking. She was writing a script. I'm not going to tell you about the script because her script is still a work in progress, but she was telling me all about it, and I thought it was such a fun idea. And it was actually quite similar to Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence in that this is a very earnest portrayal of my life, but taking it into a bit of a new context. And similarly, her story was very much her real story and her real sort of things that go on in her life and how she kind of deals with them. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where that kind of goes. And I was showing her a couple of these videos and how, because she was talking about it like it's a one-woman show, like a theatre kind of thing. And I sort of pulled up one of these videos. I pulled up the one where I'm on the ledge, the burnout video, and I'm sort of sat on a ledge, like this, probably about this thick, right? and I'm kind of standing on it, and like you don't want to fall off, and I was turning it all into a bit of a metaphor. I thought that was kind of interesting to do stuff that way, so I showed her, and she was quite interested in that kind of thing, and it was very much like the same kind of thing that she's going for. We ended up talking for about 45 minutes. Well, and I don't think either of us actually got the work we were meant to get done, but it was such a fun, nice like conversation, and I offered her a role as one of the Universal credit agents that's going to be in the film, and she seemed like she'd be keen on that, so we're going to probably like do some WhatsApping and like figure out all the details. I need to send her the script and so on. But I thought it was just so indicative of what London sort of has to offer, and any city really, particularly ones that have this artistic sort of quality to them, like Brighton, and like I don't know, LA to a degree, and like New York, and all these sort of cities where there's a lot of creatives all, you know, hanging out in the coffee shops, all working on their own like things and their own creative expressions, and everyone's got their own story to tell. And yeah, so I heard about her story, and it was really, really fascinating, and I really hope that it comes out, and when it comes out, I'll be able to like just tell you all about it, and just send you guys to go see it. It's probably going to be a theatre thing, so it'd be like an in-person type thing. It looks like it's going to be so much fun. Another example of this kind of thing as well is that about 4 days ago, I was out in Tottenham Court Road. This is where I am now. I'm in Tottenham Court Road. I went to Tottenham Court Road the other day to meet with Eva when I shot that last video of Eva. And I was making my way back to the station. I was trying to figure out where to actually go. And sorry about that. And what I was doing, I was walking through the park that's way down there, right? Sorry about the noise again. Out of my control. And went down there. There's a park down there, and it's like this park with a little pagoda in the middle, and there's 4 different roads that all look quite identical. I needed to get to the one that took me to the station. I was like going down them all, I couldn't find it. And there were these 2 guys, Mark and Lucas, and I met them, and they were heading to a job interview, but they sort of stopped me, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you do film and stuff," and like, "We're actors." I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm working on a film now called Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, so you know, it'd be really interesting to have you guys on board. You actually look like such the roles of some of the musicians that are going to be in the film." And they were like, "Oh yeah, I'm a musician." And so I was like, "Oh, what do you play?" And he was like, "Oh, I play guitar, and I sometimes do vocals and stuff like that." And I was like, "Oh, sweet." So we exchanged numbers, and wished him good luck with his job interview. I hope he got the job. I'm going to be meeting them on Saturday to you know, talk more about the role, see if they're interested, if they want to come on board, that kind of thing. And then we'll be shooting their stuff probably in November sometime. And you know, you walk around, you find so many people. I was in Westminster about a week and a half ago when I was filming a couple more of these sort of videos. This was the first video that actually went semi-viral. I mean, it got a couple thousand views, but it was the first video to actually kind of blow up, and it's the reason that this channel is like doing all right by the algorithm at the moment. It was that same day I was waiting for one of the actors called Camilla, who I actually need to get back to, because she's working on these really amazing piano pieces. Like, she did these renditions of Brahms, and I can't remember the other one. I want to say Ludwig. I can't remember, but anyway, they were really beautiful compositions, and the way that she sort of took them was a really nice personality-driven kind of thing. So I listened to them. I haven't actually got back to it. I really need to. But while I was waiting for her at the station, I was walking around. I was listening to music on my headphones, and a guy stops me, and he asks about the camera, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, you know, I do sort of film and stuff." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm an actor." I'm like, "Oh yeah, are you? Sweet, yeah." And he talked about how he did like various roles, and he was on TV sets, and you know, that kind of thing. And so we exchanged numbers, and you know, you meet so many people. You meet so many people going out and doing stuff. And I think what's important for the sake of this video is that when you are on a roll, when you're having that groove, good things will come to you. When you do right by the world and you're doing good things will happen unto you. I don't know why I said unto, but they will, because people can see that confidence exuding from you, and they're interested in coming along for your ride, you know. And it's so much fun to meet so many beautiful people across this amazing city, and just you know, really, you know, I feel like the city's actually becoming smaller and smaller in a good way as I do more of this film, and I enjoy it so much. I enjoy going out there and talking to people and seeing what's going on, and finding all these people from different walks of life, and you know, hearing their stories, and it's so much fun. It's so much fun going out there and doing this sort of thing. And yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to do this video. I just wanted to do a video about the community, and how if you do go out there and you do put yourself out there in these situations that at first can feel quite uncomfortable, because I'm not like a busybody type person who goes around and does all sorts of stuff. I'm not that kind of person in real life. I tend to be quite introverted, closed off quite character. And I could quite happily just sit, at home and just do nothing for ages and ages on end, and just go to my job and come back and do all that sort of stuff. But, I don't want that for my future. I want for my future to progress somewhere and to have these experiences that I can look back onto, and to actually go out there and just try stuff and see if it works. It can be so rewarding an experience, and I really recommend it to all of you to just, if you're thinking about working on a project that you think might be a bit of a mad idea, just do it. Just start. Just begin. If you're making a film, just find some actors. Don't even worry about writing the script first and getting everything figured out. I haven't finished the script. I've barely even started the script. But I've gotten so many actors on board and so many people excited to be part of the film. And obviously, they know what kind of film this is. This isn't a traditional film in that kind of way, and I don't want it to be a traditional film in that kind of way. But once you're honest with people about these sort of things, people will come along for the ride, and it's so fun to have these people along and to see where it all ends up, because you make such wonderful connections with people and you meet so many cool people. All my favourite people I've just bumped into over the years, I mean, how did you meet your friends? Your best friend, how did you meet them? I reckon your best friend that you probably met them in like school or in college or at work, and that's an institution where you are kind of locked in. So you go to that place every day, and you and that other person are kind of stuck together. And so you're able to make these connections over time, which is a very fun way of connecting with people. It's probably the most common way of connecting with people. But what I've been doing lately is just going out and just meeting people randomly. Like, I was just sitting in a Starbucks waiting for Eva, and a couple conversations go by, and suddenly I've found a new person to talk to and to tell about this film and about this self-expression. We ended up getting some really deep conversations, and that's something that comes with being, I hate the word artist, because to me it gives off this kind of hipstery kind of thing to it, but we are artists at the end of the day. We're making art and we're expressing ourselves. And when you do that, it's so much easier to have these quite in-depth conversations, be quite open about your own shortcomings and your flaws, because you're doing them through the context of portraying them in some kind of creative expression, whether that be an album, whether that be film, whether that be a theatrical production, as the woman I met in the Starbucks is doing, whether it be, a book that you're going to put on Amazon, whether it be, all manner of things. Maybe you want to become a YouTuber and just start expressing yourself that way, and you're really into, say, video games, and you want to just do videos about various video games that you like or dislike and your opinions on them. You get your mind out there, and as you start to do it, you become more confident, because you are expressing yourself, and now you feel comfortable expressing yourself to other people, and you're not worried about what they might think of you. So you can quite easily worry about what people think of you, but it's not really that worth it, because no one minds about your shortcomings, because they've got their own shortcomings. Everyone's got their own problems, and everyone's got their own sad bits of their story that they don't really want to share with other people. I've got things that I don't want to share with you. Other people have things that they don't want to share with their audience, with their friends, or whatever, the kind of thing that they would admit to their closest friend after so long, like, I really need to tell you something quite personal, and then they reveal that thing. And it's all about making those connections so that you can express yourself. Maybe not even necessarily in the context of creating art, but just in general. Expressing yourself is how you live. We are a social species at the end of the day. That's why we group together in these cities, and that's why, throughout the ages and the birth of civilization, that's why when towns started coming together and forming and that kind of thing, we started to exponentially develop as a species. We started off, as an agricultural kind of society, and that was very small towns of 50 people here to a tribe, 50 people here to a tribe, 20 people here, a couple families coming together, and then more people come together, more people to come together. And the more that kind of happens, the more that you start to realize that we have stuff to offer one another. 1, we have our perspective. 2, we have our time. 3, we have our empathy and our sympathy. And the fact that we can do that with one another is the beauty of human nature. And I'm so glad that we are such a social species. Although if we weren't a social species, I suppose I wouldn't really miss it, because I would be one of that non-social species, so it'd be fine. But I think, you know, look at all these people out here. They've all got their own wonderful stories to tell, and they've all got so much to give and so much to offer to the rest of the world. You know, and I'm sure somewhere out there, there's a few people there that have been working on books or on art or on various things, or there's people that have told their story in an interesting way, and there's someone that has something really wonderful and expressive to portray. And I think, you know, it's just nice to see that, and it's nice to see everything come together and coalesce in such a magical way. And I know this was a very hippie, pretentious-y kind of video, but, you know, that is the expression. That is the expression of today. And I thank you for coming along for this journey. And please, you know, if you have anything in terms of your own expression, please let me know in the comments, and I'll try and check it out. There's a comment that someone left me about a film called Tie-Dye. I'll try and link it in the description if I remember. That's a reminder to link it in the description. So please check that out. Check out the guy. I can't remember what the name of the username was, but I skimmed through it. I need to watch it later. It looks like so much fun. It looks like a very personal documentary that's a very true expression of that person. And I want to see that. I want to see the little intricacies of the human spirit, which is what you see in these low-level independent, and I mean super independent, not like indie as in like A24 pictures, although they do quite a good job of expressing the whims of the director and the writers and so on, and the actors always do such a great job. And it's you know, it's just so much fun to see what other people have to say, because it can help you develop your own worldview at the end of the day. That's why maybe you have a podcast that you like to listen to, and those personalities, you know, really draw you in, and it helps to develop your own sense of self. You know, we are a social species, and the way that we develop and grow as people is by, you know, not comparing ourselves to others, but having that ability to know, this is me, this is that person, this is that person, that person's like that person's like that person's a bit eccentric, that person's a bit down to earth, that person's quite quiet and reserved, but when you actually get them talking, they can really go, you know. And it's so much fun to do that, and I love doing this, and I want to keep doing this. I want to keep this up. I want to keep this roll up, keep this groove up, because as you start to go through your groove and you get your groove in, you're grooving away. People want to come in and be part of your song, your song for the world, and they want to join in. They'll join in with a quick guitar solo, and you'll realize, getting really deep into the metaphor now, you'll realize just how much they have to give and how much they have to say, and you know, and it can really motivate you and you know, turn your own life around in different ways. You know, we never figure out an epiphany on our own. We figure it out from the experiences of others. And I think with that, I'm gonna head off. It's getting a wee bit dark. I hope the camera is still quite lit. Thank you so much for watching and watching all these kind of videos. I love you all. You're all so brilliant, and you all leave such amazing comments. I'm sorry I don't respond to as many of them as I should. There's so many that I try to respond to them. I try to respond to them with an earnest sort of thing. I could just go and just spam like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and just like not really bother with what the person actually has to say. But I do go back and I look through the comments, and I try and see what people have to say and try and engage with it earnestly and honestly. And I love that. I love that communication between you and I, and between me and the rest of the world. And it's so much fun. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. You have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. I'm gonna leave you with just like a shot of this. I'm gonna come back and pick that up, don't worry. Is it still, oh, it's still quite lit. Yeah, that's good. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about perfectionism and how it can be quite a paralysing thing to try and constantly chase this perfect vision, this perfect goal, and getting things exactly the way that you kind of see them in your head. Now I've done a few videos now about the idea of planning and my opinions on planning. This isn't so much about planning itself, this is more about embracing the moment and the kind of things that end up happening in the now, and embracing the right now as opposed to worrying about the past or worrying about the future. So as we go through life, we all have expectations of things that we want to try and achieve. Some of us will be trying to do, you know, certain things. Maybe we want to get a job in finance. Maybe we want to write a novel. Maybe we want to, you know, start painting. Maybe, you know, we want to go traveling, and all these kind of various things. And they're things that, you know, you'll be lying in bed, be like, see, imperfections. You know, I can't wait to go on that thing. You know, I can't wait to do that thing. And you know, once that thing ends up coming, you ever been so excited for something and then it ends up happening, and you end up a little bit disappointed by it, and you kind of go home afterwards and you sit down, you're like, you know, I did enjoy that. Yeah, it was all right, that. And you know, as time goes on, that immediate feeling of not particularly enjoying it will sort of dissipate, and you'll remember it as a happy memory, you know. And as time goes on, it will start to ingrain itself in your head as like a really fun thing you did. Like if you were planning to go traveling, and then you went traveling, and then, you know, you went interrailing through Europe, or you drove across the United States, or whatever, you know, or you explored East Asia, you know. Stuff like that, and then you got back, and, you know, once you get back, you're kind of like, oh yeah, I remember when I was in like Phuket and I had this really nice like weird broth soup sort of thing, and it was in this really nice sort of wooden kind of restaurant, and the service was so great. But, you know, you don't remember the little things in the moment, like you know, getting bitten by ticks, or, you know, how overwhelmingly like sweaty you were the entire time because it's so hot. And, you know, you don't really remember the endless waiting at the airport. You don't remember, you know, staying up until 4 a.m. Just sitting on the floor in the corner with your 2 suitcases. Oh God, trying to stay awake because you know your flight is in an hour and a half, and if you fall asleep, there's a small chance that you might actually miss your flight and sleep straight through it. So you're trying to keep yourself awake. Maybe you go to the WH Smith that's just around the corner, and you get like Red Bull, and you don't normally drink Red Bull, but you go for it this time, and it's like, these aren't positive experiences, but they are necessary in order to create the ultimate positive experience, which is creating the memory, not even necessarily doing the thing that is the memory, and engaging with the memory in the present, but, you know, engaging in the memory as like a, you know, reminiscing about it, kind of going, oh yeah, you remember when we went down there and we had a really nice time, and, you know, oh, it was so brilliant, oh, it was wonderful, we went here and then we went here and we did this, and oh my God, and I've got all these really lovely photos, and you see the photos, and, you know, there's these wonderful vistas, these beautiful sunsets and sunrises that you would never get wherever you live. But, you know, the journey itself wasn't like brilliant all the way through. And I think that's a good metaphor for what I'm talking about, which is whatever it is that you're trying to do, the plan that you've kind of got, it's not necessarily going to work out, and things aren't going to go according to your favor. Things are going to go wrong. A lot of things are going to go wrong. Look at this. I sliced my finger open while I was, it's embarrassing, I was doing the washing up, and I was doing these knives, and I thought it was quite a blunt knife. I don't really use this knife, but I washed it, and it sliced my finger right open, so I've had to sort of put it in this makeshift cast. It's basically just medical tape with a bit of tissue paper on the inside. So, you know, I can't actually do anything with this in terms of, if I'm walking and I'm carrying the camera, I can't get my phone out and do a little bit of typing with just one hand. I physically can't do that anymore. So, you know, that's a little hurdle that you kind of come across, and you'll come across these hurdles like that. That train is really irritating me, but I think it helps with the metaphor of the imperfections coming through, and the fact that whatever it is that you're going through isn't perfect, and it's going to continue to be imperfect. And if you expect anything to become perfect, you will be sorely disappointed time and time again, as you keep trying to create this ultimate perfect world that will never come around. And I think if you are trying to create something, or if you're trying to have an experience, you want to go traveling, you want to get a new job, you know, all of these kind of things, you look so forward to them, and you engage with them in your mind, and you know, you kind of sit there and you go, oh, it's going to be nice, it's going to be nice. And, you know, it still is nice when you get your dream job and you're doing the work and, you know, you're a couple months in and you're still enjoying it, but you're starting to notice that, you know, that one co-worker is kind of irritating you and your boss has made a couple sly remarks. But it's nothing concrete enough that you can really say, like, this is a bad thing yet. And as time goes on, it's not like I'm saying, like, suddenly your job will become a hellscape. I mean, it might possibly. But I'm saying what will end up happening is your dream job will stop being your dream job and it'll just be your job like any other job. This is kind of why I don't want to turn, like, my music into a career, and I wouldn't mind turning the film side into a career. I kind of already have. But I don't want to turn my hobbies into jobs, because that can kind of suck the fun out of them. And, you know, that's kind of actually getting away from my point, which is about perfectionism. And the sort of rambles and so on are part of what, you know, imperfection is all about. Because when you sit and listen to someone that has something to say, you know, and they haven't quite figured out how they're actually going to word it. I haven't figured out how I'm going to word my overall point. But I do kind of know the general steps that I need to take to get there. But I only see, it's like you're doing the stepping stones in Takeshi's Castle, but it's very foggy out. So you can only see one step ahead of you at a time. So you're kind of like, and then, oh God, oh, yeah, like that. And oh, that is really irritating, that. But it helps the metaphor so much, because it is, you are going to get things like this. If you're out filming somewhere, there's going to be something that you're going to come across that is totally not what you planned. There's going to be something out there that is just totally against your original vision, and you're going to have to adapt to it. And if you're making a song, you're going to realize that solo that you had in your head doesn't actually work, even once you've managed to figure it all out. You know, you're painting, you might realize that, you know, you envisioned it in oils, but it turns out that maybe it needs to be done in, like, something else. If you go traveling, you might look at Google Street View of, you know, Budapest and think, oh, that's such a lovely place to go, I want to go there. And then you go there and you think, oh, well, this isn't really as good as the other place that I went. You know, I saw it on Google Maps, but, you know, now I'm here, I kind of look around and I'm like, okay. And it's all right, don't get me wrong, but it's not exactly what I wanted. So I think going through life trying to get what you want is the wrong way of going about it. You should go through life constantly adjusting what you want to your circumstances, and make what you want what you already have. And I think to sort of close this off, I think if you are someone that is kind of worrying about the future and is worrying about your place in the world and is worrying about where you're going to go and what you're going to do and how to make the most fulfilling life possible, you're doing it kind of wrong. It's not about the future. Just as much as you can live in the past, you ever met someone who, like, never got over their ex, or you meet someone that is like, you know, all their stories are from like 10, 15 years ago and they're clearly past their prime and they're living in the past, you know. You can just as easily live in the future, and you can constantly, you know, live in these plans that never come to fruition. You can constantly live in these dreamscapes of what you want to do once you're in a position where you have the capacity to actually do it, once you have the money, once you have the resources, once you have enough experience in the field, once maybe you want to go to, like, I don't know, some mad country like Kazakhstan, but you feel like that's a very, like, tough first step. I'm going to go to somewhere like, I don't know, Croatia first to kind of warm me up, you know. So you kind of just do what you can and you adjust what you want to what you are already able to have. You know, I mean, my wants are always pretty basic. I'm not someone that likes to get the, you know, takeaway pizza or anything like that, which costs like £17.99 for like a Domino's or whatever. It's like, that's ridiculous. I can go to Lidl and I can get a similar kind of pizza for £2.25, and I prefer that pizza, I'm going to be honest. It's not that I'll say no to a nice Domino's or a Papa John's or whatever. It's nice to try those things, especially like if you're out with friends and stuff and like you're at someone's house and they get a delivery in. You know, it's like nice to chip in like a £5 or a tenner and have a few slices, you know. That's quite nice. But again, it's about what you can do with what you have and the resources that are within your grasp to make what you want come to fruition with what you have available, rather than to dream of what you want, which you can never have. Because if you start doing that, that becomes materialism in the long run, and you end up becoming this materialistic person who is obsessed with getting the latest, greatest thing, and you feel like you can never be happy until you have this thing, and then you get that thing, and then there's another thing that you want to get, and then you get that, and then there's another thing you want to get after that, and so on and so on and so on and so on. And it's a constant, it's an endless, infinite road that never gets complete. You will never find all the possessions in the world that will make you happy. And at the same time, if you just look for within, and you don't engage with the world around you, you'll never find what's happy out there either. Because if you sit and philosophize about everything constantly, you're never going to actually be able to put these philosophies into practice. I quite like looking into like little bits of philosophy. I'm certainly no expert. I don't know jack about any of it really. But it's nice to look up a little bit about Stoicism, hedonism, and like, you know, utilitarianism, and sort of see like, because they all have good sides, bad sides, things that are useful, things that aren't useful, things that I can apply to my own life, and you know, some things that aren't so useful or might be quite outdated, and it's kind of nice to put them all together and see what you can kind of come out with it, if you can come up with some good conclusion about where we are and what we're doing. But yeah, I think ultimately, don't worry so much about it. Don't worry about, you know, the future, and don't worry about the past either. Live in the now. And I know that is such a difficult thing, and it's such a vague thing that you're told time and time and time again. You'll see these inspirational things where they go, ooh, you have to live in the present. Ooh, you just need to be happy. Oh, if you're just happy, everything will sort out. Oh, you're depressed. Oh, you know, it doesn't matter. Just, you know, smile like that. You know, I feel like that came from a place of experience. Watching some of these videos that they kind of, you know, they just assume that you can just block off all your problems and all your imperfections and create this perfect world for yourself, when you can't. All you can do is embrace the imperfections and embrace the fact that everything is not going to go completely according to plan. Some things will go catastrophically wrong, and that will hurt. I'm not saying that, you know, I don't know, the worst thing that could happen to you, if you get kicked out of your house and you end up living on the street and you've got to find somewhere new to live, you're living out of your car. I'm not saying that's something that you should cheer on, but it's just something that you can sort of, you know, use as a stepping stone to get to the next point. Hey yo, Oscar, how you doing, man?
Hey, man.
This is Oscar. He's going to be playing the character of Oliver, and I think on that's a good example of imperfections, because that's literally just life going on right there. So I'm gonna love you and leave you. I hate that fucking saying. All right, take care, man. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.